could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello everyone, today we're meeting Taliy Shkurupiy. He's an IT specialist, Episodikal podcast host, and also a keynote speaker. Hello Taliy, thank you for joining us today.
Hello, Anna. Thank you for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Yes. So let's start a conversation with you sharing, your own journey of becoming the person you are today. What led you to discover your true passion in life and to realize what you want to do and how to share your gifts with others?
Well, that's a very good question. So throughout, past decade living in the US, originally I'm from Kiev, Ukraine, and living here, like meeting people from all over the world, working in the Silicon Valley among some of the smartest people out there, and seeing that, living in the best place in the world, people still having issues, many issues with homelessness, with everything, with huge diversity, which income inequality and so on, made me want to dedicate much more time to volunteering, to helping others, to trying to get into projects that could help people, fight homelessness or hunger and so on. And it was a shock to me that even in the most developed country in the world, there are still problems on the scale I couldn't even imagine. And, fighting them and contributing my time to volunteering was great, but it never felt like it's actually solving anything. It was more like fighting endless consequences. But, the number of people suffering never went down. It only goes up year by year. And then the pandemic hit. And that was the time when, I was working from home, getting a little bit more time, and I started discovering various projects like how else can I contribute to actually make society better in whichever way is possible, because I was feeling like there should be a group of people that I can find with whom I can really make a difference. And that group of people became Creative Society. And I found it through watching videos and doing research on what's actually happening to our planet, because I started noticing that something strange is happening to the number of hurricanes, number of earthquakes, amount of magnitude of those. And then, one time I was at the Santa Monica Pier, I was talking to the fishermen at the Santa Monica Pier, and they told me, the water is not the same here. We cannot, we're not catching the same fish we used to catch 5-6 years ago, because the water got so warmer that the fish migrated. We get a different kind of tuna and whatever we catch in here. I was like, wow, that's like something's definitely happening, and we're not even seeing this. It's either underreported or downplayed on the media, because they say, there was a big hurricane here and there, but something similar happened 100 years ago or 80 years ago. And I was like, maybe something similar happened 50 years ago, but now it feels like every 6 months there's a new record-breaking event. And I was like, what's going on there? I want to find out. And I noticed that there is only one group of people that's doing comprehensive review by interviewing not only people who study atmosphere, because for some reason climate change became only about atmosphere. All we hear about CO2, carbon footprint, and raising taxes on carbon footprint. I was like, okay, that's fine. We probably pollute the atmosphere, especially living in Los Angeles. I know the smog and everything. I also know how much taxes we're paying on gasoline to lower the emissions, and still it's a problem. Like it has never been solved. So what's happening to the planet? And then I started watching these videos with geologists, with volcanologists, and one thing I noticed that the science is very fragmented, that there is no comprehensive review of what's happening, and everyone is studying their own subject as if it was existing in vacuum. And I was like, we need to put these pieces of the puzzles together find out why we have all of a sudden huge amount of floods in one part of the planet. At the very same time, droughts on the other side. So water disappears on one side and appears on the other side. Then something's happening to earthquakes and some tension with tectonic plates and so on. And, when I joined the project, well, first of all, I just found out about it and I started making my own vlogs. Then I contacted them on the website, and I've been invited to also participate in making this interview. So we started reaching out to scientists of various fields through emails. And you know what, pandemic was, in this sense, it was a great opportunity because many people went online. And finally, like, we had a chance to contact some professors, teachers from universities across US and world, which otherwise they wouldn't be reachable. You couldn't just, like, they usually had some .edu email and you couldn't even reach out because nobody was gonna even answer you on that email. And that was the first time when we could actually reach out to them. People started giving interviews, people started, actively going online. And that's when we started making international online conferences on creative society. And what we found out is that we live in a great times when technological progress allows us to do a lot and address the climate change issue. But there is no request from the society to actually implement those technologies in a way that would be beneficial for the people. And this is something we discussed with you on the pre-call, that when it comes to technologies, right now we're at the very important part of our civilization development when we cannot be reactive about it. We have to be, as a society, proactive and actually create rules as to usage of AI prior to the rollout of the technology. Because once it rolls out, it can be used in a way beneficial for a very small group of people on the expense of the society. And there will be no turning back. There will be no way back because it's going to take over industries. It's going to have so much power over human lives, over whole, big chunks of our economy that we're not even going to notice, while someone can use the AI to, take the whole IT sector at first, then the entertainment, and then so on. And it can very soon end up being like, kind of like Google took over the IT market, but on a completely different level, when we see that AI tools can generate much better, even when it comes to entertainment, scripts, videos, and the whole film very soon can be a film, for example, without actors. We can send some drones, take aerial shots, and then generate the whole thing, including the script and actors on the computer, which is going to be a huge game changer. And it sounded fantastic 2 years ago when we forecasted. So in 2021, we made this international online conference called Global Crisis. This already affects everyone, on which the first hour was dedicated to the development of AI. And we show that it grows exponentially, meaning we do not see the development throughout first 10 years, but it doubles every few weeks. So imagine a swimming pool and you fill it out with doubling the amount each time. So at first it's going to be 1 drop, then it's going to be 2 drops, then it's 4 drops, but it's still 4 drops. You're not going to freak out because it's 4 drops, but then it's 8, 16, so on. And then the very big part starts happening at the very end, because from half of the pool to the complete full pool of water, it takes the same amount of time as from 1 drop to 2 drops, and people do not realize it. That is what's called exponential growth, and that is what exactly happening right now with rollout of GPT-4 and much more advanced technologies that are being developed but not available for the public.
Wow, yeah, like I've heard about artificial intelligence started growing a few years ago, but now like all the time there is a new type of technology incorporated in different areas of professional kind of endeavors that people have. Like you just mentioned, acting and like scripts and in that entertainment world, but we also can see artificial intelligence being implemented in other type of positions that currently people hold, but eventually they will be out of jobs. So people don't realize how fast it's grown and what the power it could hold over, just regular people who are still trained to do certain positions, and they don't know that eventually it could be just irrelevant, and maybe we should focus on a different type of skills that we can use in terms of seeing ourselves evolving from that point on and working with the technology for our own benefits. And also AI could be implemented into that new creative format of society if everybody would be, at the point when they start kind of implementing that type of format here, maybe start from United States and going globally. But I just want your thoughts on how do you see AI being used for human benefit?
Oh, absolutely. The amounts of possibilities are tremendous. We cannot even imagine. Like, for example, right now we have with some of us using smartwatches, for example, or we can measure the amount of steps we did throughout the day. We can, I don't know, maybe analyze some food that we bought or ordered throughout the week, and we can measure amount of sleep and so on. But all of that is kind of separated, and there is no one database or one AI that would analyze everything you do. But imagine if you, for example, being monitored 24/7 by your AI assistant who knows everything about you. It knows your age, or your habits, the amount of sleep, amount of steps, what did you eat today and previously, what kind of nutrition you're getting, do you need anything else? It knows your specific for example, preconditions or illnesses and sickness or injuries you've been having throughout your whole life. And it has access to the database of all human civilization when it comes to medical field. So it can analyze everything, compare it to existing cases that are happening around the world. So it's learning 24/7. It knows exactly in which conditions, which pills or medications were taken, what were the consequences, and what is your specific case, because you might have something unique that no doctor would possibly be able to, grasp this amount of information, but AI can. And the medicine is going to be preventive. It will never allow you to get sick. It will give you advices in advance: get more sleep, get this kind of nutrition, do this, do that, and you'll stay healthy. That's an amazing technology. And it's going to keep people healthy. It's actually, the medicine is going to be preventative. It's going to be your best psychologist. It's going to be there 24/7. You're not going to be freaking out in the middle of the night because you have a panic attack and your doctor is asleep. It's going to be there. You put on VR, and it knows everything about you. It knows how to calm you down. It knows how to work with you specifically. It knows everything about you. And the medicine will be like the whole process of healthcare is a game changer. But again, at the same time, imagine no one would choose a human doctor over AI doctor, because AI doctor is going to be so much more efficient, and the cost of it is going to be almost free. It can be free, actually, because it costs nothing. It's just the power of a computer and power used over there. So
we're kind of still in this reality where we can't even imagine having something like this that you just mentioned, our personal assistant that has our own needs in place, our own needs as a priority to prevent any type of condition from even happening. So, because nowadays, if you look at traditional medicine, everything is focused on, on treating the symptoms, not really preventative type of measures. Because, at some point, pharmacological companies, they are the ones kind of in control of what's happening. And people who are with a lot of multiple chronic conditions are the one who, unfortunately, they are the ones who are feeding those companies, and that's for profit. So it's not about human life or for human benefit, or, find a way to kind of prevent any type of condition from even happening. So you don't need to take medication, because we design to be healthy on our own naturally. We have this built-in mechanism where we can just sustain ourselves. But because we are off balance, we don't know what's happening, and we need that kind of like assistance to focus on what matters, and maybe dedicate more time for our self-care and know what's beneficial for our health. And that type of technology where, AI knows everything about you, it could advise you, it could guide you, it could give you information, that would be just amazing tool to have. And that could only be implemented in a different type of format that we may be living in, and that is possible, like you mentioned. But again, we need to kind of like think about what is the priority. And with you working on this project and also researching what's happening around the world, we see how everything is off balance, and we need to be aware that it's not just about us, it's a bigger picture, and we have to take care of our planet as well. And if we have tools right now available to us, why don't we use them all together in order to, kind of like heal the whole atmosphere and the setting that we're living in, and create that type of healthy society that could lead us to a better future, a safer place to live in.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what we should have been doing, but we're not, because our society is still asleep. We're still waiting for some savior to come from out of nowhere and just save everyone. And it's so funny to see it when people think, oh, the next president is going to be the better than the previous one, or the next senator is going to come here and make a difference. And it never does. And throughout our conferences, we've been coming across different studies, and one of them was by Canadian Brain Research Institute, and they found out that people being in power for 3 to 5 years, they develop in the arrogance syndrome. And what that means, that the whole group of neurons which are responsible for empathy is simply stops working because they're not being used. So they atrophy, kind of like the muscles that you don't use. And literally, it might sound funny, by electing people to power, we give them permanent brain damage. So instead of hurting people like that, empowering them with too much power, what is being offered by the creative society is to actually switch the format of living from the consumer society, in which money and power is the top priority. For example, there was this study by Goldman Sachs in which they were trying to contact if it's a good business model to invest into the gene medicine and preventive healthcare. And the article they came up with was called "Developing Preventative Healthcare is not a sustainable business model because healthy people are lost customers to the pharmaceutical industry." And this is official. This is how you treat your stakeholders. This is how you get investments. You say, do not invest into this kind of things. On the other hand, you can invest into smearing articles against those who trying to develop them. Like, for example, Anna Wojcicki, the owner of 23andMe, she's been sharing this story about organizing it and how much backlash and how much smearing articles she was getting just because she was trying to roll out something that could potentially help to cure the diseases preventatively. So from living in this format where money tops everything, where somebody's profit, and we understand why in pharmaceutical companies and so on, large amount of people that having student loans, they have to pay them off somehow, they have to sustain families and so on. So it's not because there is some group of bad people trying to abuse the society. No, it's just a format of living. It's the rules of the game are set this way, in a very inhumane way. So how do we switch from this to something better without without hurting anyone financially, economically, and so on? And what we found out that, like, throughout the years of research, that all people actually want the same thing. All people want to do well. Like 99.9% of people we come across are very good people. And they talking about the society in which they would love to live. They describe in the very same society, which we call creative society. It can be called in a different way, it doesn't matter. But the point is, people want to do well. People want to know that their life is the top priority, not someone's profit or someone's power or hunger for, money and power, but the life. And if we come to the governance society from this point of view, like, how do we pass certain law uh, with the with certain criteria? What criteria should be out there for us to actually pass another law? Today, it's someone paid a lobbyist to go to influential people in DC or Sacramento or anywhere else and do something that's beneficial for a small group of people. And there are no set of requirements that we should check according to the society. How does it actually influence my life, your life, anyone else's life? And the funniest thing, that technologies are right there. We could have been already living in a self-governing society where people have access to self-governance through online voting platforms. And on that online voting platform, we could very well verify each law, each proposal as to how exactly it's gonna make my life better. And if it makes my life better, I'm gonna vote for it. And if it makes my life better, I want to know in which exactly way. So I have to be specialists that are gonna make some guidelines and say, okay, in this and that way, passing this law is gonna put that much money in your pocket within this amount of time, or make taxation smaller, or make your quality of life better, and so on. And this is not happening, not because it's not available or something else, simply because request from the people is lacking. And I know you've been interviewing very interesting people, and one of them, Robbie Wells, is actually a person who made this breakthrough, who actually opened up the speech about changing the rules, actually putting the human life on the top shelf, putting it on top of the list, and making laws and the whole legislation according to what makes human life better here in the US. And he actually, with his presidential campaign for 2024, Robbie Wells Rise Up on platform of Creative Society, he talking about the things that used to be taboo, like universal basic income. And not just that, what he says and what Creative Society is offering is unconditional basic income. So meaning that is the only way to do it fair, because today what's being offered in consumerist format is not fair. It's like you're working or not working, people making same amount of living for working or not working. But in Creative Society, everyone is provided with $10,000 a month of this unconditional basic income. And in addition to that, you can work, you can contribute to society, and so on. And it's very important to understand that technological unemployment is going to happen either way. And what we forecasted at 2021 global crisis, this already affects everyone, that the first people to lose their jobs due to technologies will be not the warehouse workers or long haul drivers. No, it's gonna start from the very top elite white collar jobs in the Silicon Valley, the very software engineers who are working on code to create the best AI on our planet, gonna be the first ones to be replaced by the very same AI. So they write in the code of their own unemployment. And they're very smart people, but they're not seeing this thing happening, which is kind of have a little bit of irony to it. But you could notice it within past year, the unemployment rate, the amount of people who lost jobs in IT was about 150,000 people. Only within first months of 2023, it was 80,000 people. So we've never seen anything like this happening. And again, this has been downplayed on the media. They say, oh, it's a bounce back from pandemic and so on, but very few people like Microsoft CEOs, they say openly and honestly that this is due to development of AI. We don't need that many people because AI solutions making a better amount of work and better quality of work in a shorter period of time and at a very little expense. So who's gonna pay 150 to $200,000 a year to somebody whose job can be executed by AI? And then we're going to see a replacement of white collar jobs and blue collar jobs. And only then at the very end, the regular jobs at the, I don't know, Amazon warehouses and so on will be automated, which is sad because today we could have been already replacing those jobs. Humans are not horses. We're not supposed to be working in fields or lifting up heavy boxes 12 hours and more a day only to make a living. All these jobs can be done by automation, and people could fairly share the tremendous amount of profit created by technologies. Robots will be even creating new robots, and robots will be at these factories. They call them blackout factories because they work in the dark. There are factories which where robots creating something, generating tools, I don't know, products in a complete darkness because there is no human presence, there is no need to have lights on and so on. So it's called blackout factories. And this could be our reality if only we had this approach where we prioritize human life. But because we don't know what to do with a huge amount of unemployed people, and we don't want to roll out UBI on a larger scale because that doesn't seem like there is a demand from the people. We're slowing down technological progress. We're seeing that as soon as Amazon started replacing workers with machinery at its warehouses, there was a huge backlash from government and from employees that we want our jobs. And that's a completely wrong approach. And I'm going to tell you why. Because at the pace of the progress of disastrous cataclysms around the world, extreme climatic events, development of AI is the only thing that can save millions and billions of human lives within the next decade. And slowing down technological progress at this point is absolutely unacceptable. And again, people are not horses. They're not supposed to work for a living. People should live to enjoy this life and be creative and contribute to the common good. But there is lack of understanding about that. And well, unfortunately, events like what happened in Turkey at the beginning of this year, it's a huge wake-up call for the society. And the fact that the country that has one of the biggest armies in the world and always praised as that's the most powerful army of Europe, second most powerful army in the world, could not find enough people to actually save people from underneath those rubble. That's a huge tragedy, and that is the consumerist format of living in which we don't prioritize human life. And this is the only way out of this is for people to actually demand what creative society stands for. The 8 pillars of creative society is that legal change that can be done evolutionary. There can be no revolution, there can be no violation of law. It can only be done within the legal framework that exists in each country. And it's a very good thing for most of us that almost in every country in the world, the constitution says that the source of power is people, we the people, right? So when we the people actually decide that we want to change the format from consumeristic into creative and provide the very same UBI and basic healthcare, universal basic healthcare education and so on, It's not a question of resources. There are plenty of resources. We could have been living in that dream world. And the only thing that stops us is the fact that we don't know about these possibilities. Well, now more and more people know, thanks to podcasts like yours. And thank you so much for inviting us here.
Sure, yeah. And sometimes people don't realize that our life is created by us. So we're supposed to take responsibility for what we have right now. And if we're not satisfied with what we have to change our approach to life. So something should be changed. Otherwise, we're gonna, end up in the same place. So with us, actually just, looking into different direction and creating that type of society for ourselves, we would set ourselves for success and we give ourselves a better quality of living. Like you just mentioned, with all the technology, it keeps getting advanced exponentially, and it's been slowed down only because we're not ready as a society for it. And if only we would just, create that type of environment for ourselves, we could be utilizing this type of technology for our own benefits, and it would help us, it would make our life easier, and we can focus on something that matters. We can be more creative. We can contribute to, humanity in different ways, depending on what your skills and, talents are. But right now, everybody is struggling to keep up, to just make a living. And they are willing to do anything, but basically what they do, they trade their time for money, right? And time is the most valuable asset that you can have right now. But do you have time on your hands to create, right? A lot of people are in very bad positions, and but nobody would support them. So if they just decided to leave their job, they become homeless, or they could lose a lot, and they cannot afford that, especially having families. So how can you be secure and safe and know that, you can choose what you want to do, not because you have to do it, right? So we have to, kind of like switch our mindset and focus on what matters and prioritize our own mental, physical health, and also look around and what we can do for others as well, and for us as a society, and how can we become a single unit and work on it together and not become more divided, because with also social media, we all become, more separated. And that's exactly what's the purpose of social media is, to distract your focus from what matters, right? And we have to understand that. But again, it becomes our own responsibility. And if you're not going to take that decision for yourself, nothing will change.
Well, that's a very good point. Today, social media are being used to divide us, but it's just a tool as any other technology, and it can be used for unification as well. So the best thing that any one of us can do is to actually learn about the project of creative society, or simply have an envision in your mind what would be the society that you would like to live in, and share about this on your social media, create a post, and it's a great thing. Right now, anyone can influence so many people. We can make a video reel or a TikTok and get millions of views, any one of us. You don't have to be a famous star. You just have to express your thoughts. And if you comment from a positive vision, if you comment from the point of view of changing the society for the better, making it more humane, and just to give you one example of what actually creative society does, is imagine how would your life change if you had no fear of uncertainty of tomorrow. And that is one thing that's causing so much harm to our psychological state, because there are simply no people in the world who are secure and safe about tomorrow. And it doesn't matter if you're Jeff Bezos with a multi-billion-dollar company that will be torn apart by your competitors. and you live in this constant fear. Or you're a simple person who, not sure if the next layoff is going to keep me without a job and the ability to pay rent, and what's going to happen to my family, how am I going to put food on the table. Even if you have a good job, even if that, you see your colleagues being laid off in the Silicon Valley, and how are you supposed to feel? And you live in a constant fear that something might happen to you tomorrow. And everyone lives in this fear. And imagine society in which this fear is being removed. Everyone is getting this universal basic income, and you're secure, you're financially stable. And then we have to again address the fears, because people people would stop working then. And that is absolutely not true. That is incorrect. That has been proven in many states where this has been rolled out as a test. And people who lost their jobs have been provided with a universal basic income, and they wanted to see, will they stop working? And 99% of people kept searching jobs and kept getting employed, because people want to do better. People don't want to set for average. It's a normal human thing to want to do better than average. But what they noticed, that instead of hopping on the very first whatever job, people become more selective, and they start searching for a job that they really like and they want to do and they want to execute, and they're gonna contribute to it, that they're really interested in. So it not only leads to a happier life for you, it also rises up the standards, because then the employers start competing against each other to provide you better working conditions and so on, because they know you don't need them, you already covered, but hey, we want you to work with us. We're going to create great conditions, and we're going to make sure you're happy working with us. That's a completely different approach to life. And this is what could have been done already if people wanted this. But we're seeing that so many people simply not aware of this, and that is why we invite everyone to our forum, April 22nd. It's going to be called Global Crisis. There is a way out, because one of the most important things we want to show to the people, that there is a way out. And, in preparation to this forum, we have our volunteers go into the streets all across the world. And here in Los Angeles, we've done it ourselves. And we ask people, would you stop work? What would you do with your time if you would be provided with UBI of 10K a month and free healthcare? People would say, I would pay off my loans, which is a big problem as well. People live in a constant fear of having loans. Like, would you feel safe if you constantly owe money to somebody? That's impossible. You can't. Again, that's another thing that's constantly drilling our minds. We owe money to somebody. How am I going to pay it off? And people would be like, I would pay off my loans. And we say, hold on a second. In creative society, the first thing that's going to happen is the write-off of all the loans. We just have to raise it, because at current point of our society, there is no, not only economical, there is no mathematical model of paying off all the loans, and nobody knows who owns to who, because if simply countries around the world would do mutual write-offs, that thing would be eliminated. But current economy is set in a certain way to empower a few and keep people in their constant fear, and this is why such things as inflation of money exist. You're making money, you create amount of money, and it deprecates. Your money simply disappear from your bank account, or their purchasing power is going down. And this is not a natural thing. This is artificially created process that people don't even think about usually, because we've been convinced this is normal, and this is not normal. And again, using AI allows us to create a crisis-free economy in which money would not deprecate, in which inflation would not exist, in which there would be a fair distribution of resources, in which, and it doesn't mean paying freeloaders. No, today we have freeloaders. Today we have people who live on the expense of society, usurping the power, usurping resources. According to the Constitution, it belongs to the people, but as soon as it's taken out of our soil and land, it belongs to some private corporation. And that is not right. At some point, we understand this was working, this has been the consumerist format. But right now, if we're not going to change it, we will see a huge problems, not only with mass unemployment, but also with a huge amount of refugees. Very soon, we're already seeing that the amount of climate refugees surpassed 100 million people a year. And by the end of this decade, it's going to be billions of people. And imagine what's going to happen to the society when billion of people or more have to relocate. And we're seeing that these things are not happening within 30 years or 50 years. They are happening within years from now. And we don't know which country is going to be affected and who's going to have to relocate. Maybe by the time we actually, finish building all our walls, we're gonna be the ones who are gonna have to go over them to get to the safe spot. Because what's happening to Kentucky, what's happening to Florida, what's happening to the South and California coast and the whole North Pacific West, this is not normal. This is not okay, and the scale of it is unfortunately only getting larger, and the impact is going bigger. And this is something that's been unreported on the media, again, not because somebody's trying to hide this information only for the sake of it. No, even governments, they don't see the solution. That's why they don't talk about it, because in consumers format, there is no solution. There's everyone fighting for itself, every country for itself, and so on. But in creative society, there is a solution. And creative society, as an organization of volunteers, is the only organization that's offering the solution. So I wanted to invite everyone to our forum on April 22nd, this already global crisis, there is a way out. To actually hear about the solution, about the real scale of events, and join if you feel the importance of it.
Sure, and I will also include it in the show notes for those who would like to learn more about Creative Society and visit the forum. That will happen on April 22nd, and that will be online. And you can all participate into, kind of stretching your thinking and thinking about what's possible, and that you are the one who could be part of it, and to be active participant in any kind of way that you find yourself, helpful for creating that life for yourself. And also, a lot of people would think, I'm just one person. How can I change anything? There are people who take, control over everything. But if one of us, like each one of us would, kind of speak up and be part of the whole movement together, that's where we see power. I know one person maybe is not enough, but again, as a unity, as we unite together, then we will see that everything could be changed. And with us kind of willing and be ready to participate in that and seeing ourselves living in a different format, knowing that it's possible, that's where we find our power, and we can change it, even with being just one person. So I want everybody to just start thinking about it and first prioritize ourselves as, like you said, the life of a human being, it should be a priority, and you should see that being implemented in the society that you live in. If you don't see it, something has to be changed. I'm so glad that we had time to talk with you today. It was a pleasure meeting you, and thank you for sharing your thoughts and wisdom. And if anything you would like to say in closing for all of our listeners, for those who are still undecided, or they not sure what to focus on and what's important, what they should start thinking about and taking a direction towards change.
Yeah, well, one thing I noticed from speaking to people and conducting multiple interviews around the world, and even speaking to strangers, we usually just take cameras, go to Santa Monica or somewhere else, and just speaking to people. And when we approaching them from positive standpoint, speaking about society which they would like to live in and so on, people open up in a different way and they voice in this kind of things which completely aligns with everyone else. It's like 99.9% of people want the same thing. But I've seen this very disturbing thing that each one of them almost always says that other people would not support me. I want this, but other people will not understand. And this is simply because of lack communication, because we're not used to talk about the really important things. We gossiping, we discussing our neighbors, we love discussing our colleagues, some movie stars, scandals. We have no problem talking about this very negative things and sharing this waste of time. Basically, yeah, it's a waste of our time. We love doing this because it's common, but it's not common to actually speak about the things that are important to you and important for the society and can bring the change. And once you start speaking about them, you see, oh, wait, hold on a second. My life only gets better because I'm starting seeing so much better in the others, like everywhere I go. And there is a group of people who's already doing a lot. And each person that's joining the project or informing people creating tremendous difference, because you never know the chain of events that you're going to kick off with your actions. Maybe out of 10 people, even if you tell about these possibilities to 10 people, out of them, you never know how many people they will tell and who's going to be among those people. Maybe a person, exactly the decision-making people, or people who's going to be able to inform much more people will be among those people. And that chain of events would never happen if you stay silent. So don't be silent. That's one thing I want to say. Have a little bit more faith in yourself. Not generally, but literally have faith in the power of your voice. You've never been more powerful than you are today. You can reach out to millions of people, and this is literally, and this is not a big deal to simply start talking, making videos, and self-organize locally. If you feel this idea is important, don't wait for somebody from the organization to tell you what to do. Find like-minded group of people locally and start taking actions that would help others to find out about this in your area. Make coordination center. It can be done online, and start spreading information. Go into local stores, local businesses, neighbors, putting logo on cars and demanding this thing. I want to live in creative society. This has to be the motto of our world. This has to be discussed everywhere. And then when you go to any coffee shop and you will hear people discuss, and we want this change to happen, this is when it's going to be impossible to ignore. When people are going to say, we only going to vote for those who's going to change our life for the better, and not rhetorically, but literally, we want online voting platform, and we want 8 foundations with human life as the top priority to be embedded in our legal frameworks on country level, state level, whatever level. Then it's going to be a real difference. Then we're going to see a concrete changes that's going to change life for the better in evolutionary way, with no major, revolutions or anything else. We don't have to go to the streets. We don't have to march. We simply have to voice our request, and that's the most beautiful thing about it.
Yeah, and also we don't have to be scared of speaking up, because I feel like right now, this new society format, we all, experience that type of mindset where we're keeping ourselves like quiet. We're not speaking up. We're not raising our voice and talking about what's important. And we're supposed to know that we're the ones who can create that ripple effect and spread the information that should be heard by others, and by simply just again, like knowing what you want for your life and talking about it. There is nothing extraordinary that you need to do. You just need to pass over that fear and not be scared, and know that even though you're one person, you can still make a difference, and everything starts with your decision.
Absolutely. And that's why thank you so much for inviting me today. It's been a great pleasure talking to you.
Yeah.
And I want to wish all the best to the audience, and to wish everyone to find out more about the Creative Society at the website creativesociety.com, especially the section with Q&A, questions and answers, and Act Now, the tab where you can find very simple moves that can change the world around you for the better.
Yes.
So please
All
join.
right. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure talking to you. And I hope you enjoy your day.
Likewise. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.